Hello. Um, it, yep, I think we're live. All about the 60th anniversary. Um, oh, hold on. There we go. We're going to be talking all about the 60th anniversary special and speculating as to what could happen. Um, so yeah, let me just chat. Apologies if there's any technical difficulties. I know the last one, there was quite a few problems with that. So if there's any with this one, then I do apologize. I'll just put that in. So yeah, I hope there's not too many problems with this one. If there is, I do apologize. But hopefully you'll be able to more or less make out what I'm saying. Fingers crossed. So yeah, the 60th anniversary special. So obviously we've got quite a while to wait for it yet. I mean, we're still in the 60th will be coming out November next year, presumably on the 23rd of November or Doctor Who Day. So yeah, we've got a while to wait yet, but I thought, seeing as we've talked about the centenary special in last week's live stream, that we may as well talk about the 60th as well, because I know that's another special that I'm really interested to try and kind of maybe potentially predict what could happen, at least not necessarily what will happen, but what could happen. So yeah, I thought, I may as well talk about it. There's not a lot that we know for certain about it right now, because obviously it's still over a year away at the time of doing this stream. So obviously it's to be expected that we're not going to know that much, but we do know that obviously um, we will be having a brand new Doctor, a brand new showrunner, or a returning showrunner, I should say, in Rusty Davis. He will be coming back to the show for the 60th, and then series beyond. I think it was said in the original official BBC press release. So who knows how long that could be? I mean, that could be for just the 60th and then series 14. That could be for series 14, 15, 16, however many series Davis wants to stay on for. But yeah, I think I'm really excited to have him back. The only kind of negative thing I have to say about, well, not negative thing I have to say about him returning, but just kind of one hope I mainly just kind of hope that second era, that he does something new, something refreshing, etc. And I think he gave a interview recently to do something new, and if he didn't have new ideas and everything, so that's very reassuring. Because I mean, I think Rusty Davis is the type of writer that, regardless. Uh, Hold on a second. Just the connection is apparently not great. Just give it a second. There we go. I think it's back now. So yeah, I was just saying that with Rusty Davis, he's not the kind of writer that would just come back for the sake of it. Like he would only come back if he really had new, interesting, and refreshing ideas. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing what exactly he's got in store for us. And I'll just tell him see what my speakers are like. Right, I think they're okay. Yeah, but I think it'd be really interesting to see what exactly he's got planned. Steve Davis has grown a lot and has changed in some ways, really, as a writer, since the end of his original first era. Um, so yeah, I think that it will be something very brand new and something very different that he will be bringing to the table with this new era. And yeah, I'm just really, really looking forward to seeing what he's got in store for us, really. I've always admired Rusty Davis as a writer anyway. I'm a massive fan of his original era Doctor Who, because that is the era of Doctor Who that got me into the show in the first place, and I have a fond nostalgic memories of, and all of that lot. So yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to him coming back, and I just think he's a really talented and great writer. Rusty Davis is really. I mean, having seen some of the stuff he's done since his original era of Doctor Who, like It's a Sin and Years, they were both absolutely fantastic and wonderful shows and dramas. So yeah, I'm very, very excited and looking forward to seeing what he's got in store for us. Yeah. IRRI, my internet is dodgy too today. Yeah, I think it might be all these storms that are going around. I know, like here in the UK where I live, we've had a lot of, it's just been non-stop raining and stuff today, so that's not been great and everything. But hopefully, the connection isn't too bad. If I do cut out at any points, I really do apologize. I'm hoping that maybe eventually one day I'll be able to get better equipment and be able to live stream better. Looking forward to me and Clara adventures. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is something that Big Finish could potentially do a series of audios about, maybe at some point. Or maybe I know Rusty Davis has spoken about, how much he would love to do more spin-offs for the TV show and everything, because obviously back in the day we had Torchwood and Sarah Jane Adventures for his very first. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of spin-offs we get. Maybe, like you say, we could get a me and Clara adventure. That's not something that, I mean, it's something that, as someone who personally is not the biggest fan of Clara, like, that may not be for my cup of tea, but I would still be completely down for at least giving it a go. And it would be at least interesting to see what they would do with that kind of idea or concept, really. Yeah. So yeah, it is a good idea. Or like I say, alternatively, Big Finish could do something, and maybe, I don't know. I mean, they've released dozens of box sets about very random stuff the past few years. Big Finish have. They've done thing from Jenny, the Doctor's daughter, to Lady Christina from Planet of the Dead, to stuff about New Earth, New York, and all of that lot. So yeah, if they can do all of that, then they could definitely do a me and Clara adventures box set or two. Absolutely. So yeah, I said about how we'll be getting a new Doctor. Obviously, at the time, I don't know yet actually who the 14th Doctor is going to be. I'm quite surprised that we don't completely know yet. It is possible that they could want to potentially wait until the end of the centenary special itself, or maybe even the start of the 60th, to actually tell us who number 14 is going to be. Now that would certainly be very interesting, a very interesting and pretty unique thing for them to do. And I wouldn't be completely against it either. But I think the problem with that really is it will then mean that we've got even longer to wait for to find out who the next Doctor is going to be. And I don't know. It's just we've already had over a year since it was first properly rumored that Jodie Whittaker was going to be leaving. About this time last year, I think it was. Um, yeah, we've had about a year of constant non-stop tabloid gossip and speculation and stuff, throwing all sorts of names. Basically, any British actor that you can possibly think of has been rumored at some point in the last year to be the next Doctor, and it's it. I don't. I think that's fine. Like that's something that we always get whenever a Doctor is leaving. Anyway, we always get loads of speculation from the newspapers and websites and everything about who the next Doctor could be. But I don't know. I'm kind of hoping that they will reveal who number 14 is going to be sooner rather than later. Um, just because I really personally just I just like to know, and I just like to be able to. I just like all of us to be able to put all this tabloid speculation and gossip to bed, really, and to just focus on on Jodie's last few episodes and then the 60th itself, and not just be constantly thinking about, oh, wouldn't I don't know, Chris Marshall make a great 14th Doctor? Maybe he would be. I don't think he would be, but who knows? Or maybe someone like Tania Miller. I mean, personally, I would love to see Tania Miller, and I do think she is quite a likely choice, given that she's worked with Russell T Davies before on Years and Years, I think. And she is kind of well known, but not. I mean, from my perspective, anyway, she's what I know. Like I know stuff she's been in, and I know of her, but that extremely well known that she um, isn't able to play Doctor. Just give the connection a few seconds to reconnect. Right. So we're back now. Yeah, I do apologize. I think it's the storms that is playing up with my internet. So apologies for that. Maybe River had a daughter during the 24-year hotel stay. Yeah. Yeah, I assume you mean the end of Husbands of River song between her and the 12th Doctor. Yeah. Um, I don't know. I don't know. Anything's possible. Um, yeah, I wouldn't be against the idea of River coming back and maybe having a daughter potentially. But yeah, that's definitely a good idea. Yeah, absolutely, and very interesting idea, certainly. Um, but yeah, let me just get back to the 60th. So let me just see. So yeah, so we know for definite that Rusty Davis is returning. We also know that Bad Wolf Productions, I think it is, or whatever the official name of it is going to be, I think, be co-producing the 60th and Series 14, basically the whole of Rusty Davis's second era of Doctor Who, however long that may be. They're going to be co-producing it with the BBC or BBC Studios. So yeah, that's interesting because I don't think we've really kind of had that before with co-producing between the BBC and somebody else, really. Apart from like the TV movie, for instance, which I know was kind of, I think was partly sort of like co-produced between the BBC Universal Pictures and Fox TV or something. I could be wrong, but I think it was those three that co-produced the 1996 TV movie together. But yeah, this would be a first for the proper for a proper you know what I mean, like the TV movie is part of the main show, but it's kind of a slightly different entity of it being a TV movie and everything. Yeah, it would be very different with this co-producing or whatever it is with Bad Wolf. But I'm still very much looking forward to seeing what that will mean for the future of Doctor Who, because um, will that be something which will only apply to the RTD2 era, or will it apply to the rest of Doctor Who going forwards? It will certainly be very interesting to see what happens with that. Yeah, I know. I think Bad Wolf has done stuff in the past, like his Dark Materials, which I've watched, and really enjoyed that. And I think Bad Wolf is a really, really good partner for the BBC to go with Doctor Who. And I really, really can't wait to see what they do with the show. Really, I know. I think Bad Wolf was set up by Julie Gardner and Jane Tranter, who, of course, were Julie Gardner, I think, executive produced series 1 to 4 or something of Doctor Who alongside Rusty Davis, and then Jane Tranter was um, one of the high ups at the BBC that got the original Rusty Davis era of Doctor Who in originally. So yeah, it will definitely be really interesting to see what kind of input Bad Wolf will have with the RTD2 era, because yeah, it'll definitely be interesting because it's so different. Really, it's not like the show to normally be co-produced like that. And I know, I think Sony has also like has or will be buying Bad Wolf or something. So it'd be interesting to see what kind of input Sony has as well in Doctor Who. I don't think it will really be that much, if I'm being completely honest. I don't think, we certainly won't be seeing any Sony properties like Venom and stuff crossing over with Doctor Who. Certainly not. But I think I don't know. It could be that Sony may have a bit of a say, not in so much in the creative department of it, like the actual storytelling bit, but maybe in the distributing of it to other countries around the world. Potentially, Sony could maybe have a say in that, or maybe they won't really have much of a say at all. They'll kind of just be like, they'll kind of just leave the BBC and Bad Wolf to just get on with it, really. So yeah, be interesting to see at least. So yeah, I think that is pretty much all we really know about the 60th and RTD2 era in general for definite right now. Like I say, we don't know who the next Doctor is going to be yet. I do think it is quite likely it could be another female Doctor. I think it would be a shame if the Doctor was to go back to being a white male all over again, when we've had so many white male Doctors already. It just would feel a bit like it would feel a bit odd to just go straight back to that when we've had so many already. So yeah, I mean, I think it will probably be another woman as a Doctor. As I mean, I think it will probably be someone older than Jodie, certainly, because normally, if they've had a younger doctor, they tend to then, for the doctor after that one, to then go for an older doctor. Not always, but most of the time they tend to. So yeah, that will be. I'm very much looking forward to seeing who the 14th Doctor is going to be, because I don't think it really matters. I mean, it does matter who they pick, obviously, but whoever they pick, I'm sure will be a really great choice for them to go with, because yeah, I just think that they could get in whoever, and as long as they and as long as the writing is good, which I'm sure it will be under Rusty Davis, then I don't think it's like, I think they could get in anyone in a sense, if you kind of see what I mean. Not that it matter, it certainly matters who they bring in, but yeah, I think it could go in any direction now. Now that we've had the 13th Doctor and the Fugitive Doctor as well, obviously. So we've had the first female Doctor and the first person of colour playing the Doctor as well, with Jodie Whittaker and Joe Martin, respectively. So yeah, it could really go in any direction now, which I'm really, really excited about, because at this point a few years ago, it wasn't, I don't think, when just before, like, Jodie was announced and everything to be the 13th Doctor, and we knew that Peter Capaldi was leaving, I don't think a lot of us fans kind of thought that we'd ever actually get a female Doctor. And I think it has been a success, really. Maybe the writing hasn't really helped to an extent, but I'm not going to go as far as saying that Chris Chibnall is not a good writer. Chris Chibnall is definitely a really great writer, and Jodie Whittaker is a really great actor and a really great Doctor. I just feel like part of the problem has just been, I don't know. I think maybe Chris Chibnall has wanted to take the show in a certain direction, which the BBC just doesn't want to really kind of fully commit to, potentially, and so there's been a bit of friction, or a bit of, like, stuff going on there. So then that's meant that, Chibnall perhaps kind of wanted to break really new ground with the show, with his particular era of it. Perhaps maybe, is kind of a shame, I suppose. But it'd be interesting to see what exactly happens between now and the centenary special, and the end of the centenary special, anyway, in regards to that special and Legend of the Sea Devils, because I'm very much looking forward to seeing how they wrap things up. As I probably said all of this in last week's live stream, but yeah, it will be interesting to see how the Jodie Whittaker and Chris Chibnall era ends. But yeah, so anyway, again, we'll get back to the 60th, because that is what we're all here to talk about, not the Chris Chibnall era. So yeah, let's talk about some rumors that have been going around. Well, were going around about a month or so ago, concerning David Tennant coming back to Doctor Who as a Doctor, but as the 14th Doctor this time, as a brand new incarnation. And then I think there was also rumours going around saying that Catherine Tate was going to come back, but as a brand new companion as well, something like that. Yeah, I mean, look, David Tennant is my favourite Doctor, and Catherine Tate as Don Noble. I really love Donna as a companion, and an awful lot. But I think I'm not really sure if it would be a great idea for the show to yet again hinge back to or turn back towards its own past, especially to that extent with recasting an old Doctor and an old companion as brand new ones, because then you kind of just think, well, why do that? What would be the point of that, really? Because I mean, again, I don't think David Tennant and Catherine Tate are not capable as actors to pull it off. I think they definitely would be, but even as much as I love Series 4 and the 10th Doctor and Donna's relationship and everything, I just kind of think, well, it's we've already been there. We've already been there. We've already done that. And I think the show kind of just needs to stop relying so much on its own past, its own history, and just look forwards towards the future, and just cast somebody new as both the Doctor and the companion, or companions, however many companions we may have, because that's something we don't know. If we'll have 3 companions again, or if we'll have I don't think we will have as many as 3 companions. A companion or 2, I think, is probably most likely. Probably just 1 companion. Maybe 2 at a pinch, which, I kind of would prefer, really, because I do think that when you have a trio of the Doctor and 2 companions, I think that works really well. It worked so well with the 12th Doctor with Bill and Nardole. It works so well with the 13th Doctor and Yaz and Anne. It worked pretty well with the 11th Doctor and Amy and Rory. So yeah, it would be really good if they could maybe do that again, because then with each of those 2 companions, you can have a companion and then an older companion, and that can appeal, like I say, appeal to different members or parts of the audience potentially. But then again, Rusty Davies in his original era tended to prefer just the one companion, which, to be honest, I think did work really well, because he didn't like to have so many characters and companions and everything running about and everything, because he wanted to focus way more on character development. And I think that is one of his greatest strengths as a writer, is developing his characters and giving them backstories and motivations and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll have to see. But a companion or 2 is probably most likely. Tangents, whatever. We're getting sad. It's just what I'm like. But yeah, I don't think we'll be getting David Tennant and Catherine Tate to be a new Doctor and a new companion. I just don't think that will happen, because I don't think someone like Rusty Davies would want that to happen. I think is someone who understands that the show needs to look to the future. So yeah, I don't think it's going to happen at all. But I think there's, obviously, with it being the 60th, I think it's pretty likely that we will get old Doctors and old companions returning, because that is what tends to happen with these anniversary specials. So we get a massive multi-Doctor event, and it's strange, really, because on one level I think, that's pretty likely to happen again with the 60th. But then again, on another level, I think, well, hold on, they've got to introduce a brand new Doctor in the 60th, presuming, of course, that it's going to be the very first episode of the RTD2, which I think Russell T Davies himself has said in interviews a few months ago that I think, I could be wrong here, but I think he wrote the 60th first. Doesn't necessarily mean, of course, that just because he wrote the 60th first, that it will be the first episode transmitted. Excuse me, but yeah, I do think that yeah, I think there's a strong possibility at least that the 60th could be the very first episode, and if it is, then that's going to be really difficult because, like I say, you've got to introduce a brand new Doctor, brand new companion, brand new era of the show, and also then like have older Doctors, older companions coming back um from older eras, and it just feels a bit. I mean, if I'm being completely honest, I think Rusty Davis as a writer could sum it off um, pretty well. But I still think even for Rusty Davis, I think it's going to be difficult to try and do that. So maybe we'll get series 14 before the 60th, because I think that would be better personally. And maybe we'll get it in the spring or summer of next year, or maybe in the autumn, just in a few weeks before the actual 60th itself. Maybe we'll get something like that. Um, but yeah, I mean, for returning people from shows past, like who I think is most likely to come back, I think it's pretty likely that we'll get. I think likely to come back. I think Matt Smith as the 11th Doctor is pretty likely to come back as well. And then I know then Peter Capaldi has said that he doesn't really want to return to the show right now. And that was a few months ago, I think, for his Suicide Squad film that came out last summer, I think it was. Yeah, so I think he's a bit reluctant, or he seems a bit reluctant to come back anyway. But then again, maybe the fact that Rusty Davis is coming back will, maybe I should come back. Not to like do any disservice to any of the other writers like Chris Chibnall or Stephen Moffat, but I think Rusty Davis is such a well-regarded writer in the television industry as a whole, because I think people really love working with him. That I think Peter Capaldi might be persuaded to come back, knowing that Rusty Davis would. Again, it'd be really difficult because if the 60th is going to be the very first. Oh, it's going a bit again. Oh, we're back now. Yeah, so I was just saying, I think it will be a bit difficult for Jodie to come back for the 60th if um if the 60th special is the very first episode of E2 era. I mean, it would be very strange to have left in the previous episode and then be back for this episode. I mean, it'd be so strange. Not saying it wouldn't happen. I mean, there's still a good chance of it happening, but yeah, it's just, yeah, I think it will be difficult. And also, I know she's now currently pregnant. Jodie Whittaker is. Congratulations to her and to her husband and everything. Yeah, and so obviously she's going to need a few months off working to go and have the baby and everything. So to I don't. It depends also when. I think there's been a lot of rumors going this spring of the year, and if that's the case, then and the 60th anniversary special is the very first episode to be recorded, then Jodie may not be able to be in it. Maybe. But yeah, I would love to have. I think it's quite likely for 10, 11, 12, and 13 to all come back. I just think it's trying to just make sure everybody's happy and able to do it and everything, and just working around people's schedules and everything, as it always is with these things. Ultimately, and be likely to come back if we are going to get the conventional multi-doctor kind of story. Because I don't know, it's like I say, it'll be because if it is going to be the very first episode of this new era, then I don't know, maybe we'll get something a bit different from just the standard multi-doctor event. Maybe we'll get something more like, I don't know, I think there was a comic that was done a few years ago by Titan Comics called The Many Lives of Doctor Who. It was all about the 13th Doctor, kind of as she was regenerating, as like the 12th Doctor was regenerating into her and everything. They were thinking back to some adventures that they'd had as all the different previous lives and everything. Maybe it could be like a TV. That would be really, really cool and interesting to see, because that will just be so different. Still getting the old Doctors coming back, but in a new and interesting way. And I could certainly see Rusty Davies doing something like that potentially. I do think he'll want to try and start afresh with his era a lot and not rely so much on the show's history, because that's what he did in his original era. So yeah, traditional multi-doctor story, or different. Like I say, it could be something like kind of flashbacks, maybe, or something. Yeah, it could be flashbacks for all of the previous doctors, or some of them, or so yeah, that would be interesting. There we go. The connection is back. Yeah, so let's see what's been said in the chat then. I've said it before, but I really want Doctor 2 to return. Yeah, I'd love to see the second Doctor back, yeah. I think the only way that would potentially happen is maybe they get Michael Troughton to not just voice his father's Doctor as he is right now with Big Finish, but also to actually play him in a TV episode. But that'd be really good, because the second Doctor is one of my favorite Doctors as well, and I'd really love to see him return. I would love to see Missy the Doctor in the teen years. I assume you mean like sort of like a prequel series set during the Doctor Master's time at the Time Lord Academy. Yeah, that would be really good. The only kind of thing with that is I just hope they don't kind of the one problem I think you've got with trying to go back that far in the Doctor's past is, again, it's like it's giving too much away, sort of thing. But yeah, that will be really, really good to see. Yeah, really good idea. A Jack and Me episode. Um, yeah, yeah. That I don't think that will happen now, given what has come out with John Barrowman and everything. I won't go into too much detail about it, but if you don't know, just Google it, and I'm sure you'll find out. But yeah, yeah, that would be, that would be a pretty good idea, at least. Yeah. Um, I hope it coincides with whatever Big Finish has planned. Yeah. So obviously, over the 60th, Big Finish will obviously be doing something as well, and they'll probably be getting some of the old Doctors back. I think it's pretty likely that they will get all the Doctors that they're able to use now, at least, back. So I think they'll have, excuse me, 4 to 8 at least, and then 9 and 10 as well, probably, and then maybe, if we're very lucky, They may have the rights to use stuff from the 13th Doctor's era by then, so maybe then they'll, if Jodie wants to do Big Finish that early on, then maybe they'll get her in. Maybe they'll get Peter Capaldi and Matt Smith to come back as 11 and 12 as well. Yeah, it would be really good to like have all of the past Doctors, if not back on the TV show itself, then I think it is pretty likely that most of them in some form would be back for Big Finish. The involvement from Christopher Eccleston for the 60th. I do not think it is likely at all that Christopher Eccleston will want to come back to work with Rusty Davis, who, of course, the two of them obviously have not really resolved their issues that they had when originally filming series 1 of the original RTD era. I mean, it is a shame that Eccleston most likely won't be coming back, but I get that he'll want to do what feels, comfortable and the best. That's completely understandable. I completely respect that. And yeah, I'm just happy that he's come back to Big Finish at all, really, and just been given a chance to really just show how much he loves playing the Doctor. And because I think Chris Ferguson, he's gotten a lot of slack, really. He had a lot of slack given to him over the years before he came back for Big Finish, about how I think it was kind of perceived by some people that he didn't enjoy his time on Doctor Who, but he clearly, well, maybe didn't enjoy necessarily the behind the scenes stuff about it, but he clearly enjoyed playing the character of the Doctor at least. And I think that is really obvious by the fact that he's come back for Big Finish. I mean, again, unfortunately, I've not had a chance to listen to any of the stuff that he's come back for yet. But yeah, I think that is the only. I think if Big Finish are going to do something for the 60th, which they will most likely do because they did something for the 50th, they did the light at the end, which was really good. So I can see them definitely doing something for the 60th anniversary as well. And I think that is most likely how you'll get Chris Ferguson to interact with all the other Doctors. I think, yeah, that will probably be the only way that you'll get him to meet the other Doctors, really. It is a shame, but that is a shame, of course, that he wouldn't feel comfortable. But respect, if that really is his decision, which I think it most likely will be, then we've got to just respect that. And yeah, I certainly do, because I think it's better for him as a person to concentrate on what he feels most comfortable with doing. And if that is just Big Finish, then that's completely fine, because he'll still get to interact with the other Doctors through Big Finish, so it's not like we won't be missing out at all. Yeah, so we've talked about which new series Doctors are going to be coming back. So I've said that it's unlikely Eccleston will come back, but I think David Tennant, Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi, and Jodie Whittaker are pretty likely to come back. The only one that I think is, well, I think Capaldi and Jodie, we might have to wait and see how they feel and if it's doable for them and everything. But yeah, I think hopefully, fingers crossed, they will come back alongside David Tennant and Matt Smith to interact with each other and whoever number 14 is. Now, as for the classic series Doctors, this is a bit harder to really kind of see, because obviously I would love it if we had 4 to 8 back on, the TV show itself for the 60th. I would really, really love that. I'd love for them somehow involve at least the first 3 Doctors as well, and maybe John Hurt and maybe Joe Martin. I would really love to see all doctors all of the doctors from the actual TV show itself, not the Peter Cushing films or The Curse of Fatal Death or anything like that, but just the TV show itself, the 15 official proper doctors. I would love to see all of them interacting with each other. But the thing is with the classic doctors is obviously I remember obviously during the 50th, we all wanted the classic doctors to come back then. But when it came round to the actual 50th special, the Day of the Doctor, they didn't really. I mean, we had Tom Baker come back as the curator, and we had Paul Mcgann back as the Eighth Doctor for that special minisodes, The Night of the Doctor, which served as a prequel to Day of the Doctor and everything, and saw the Eighth Doctor regenerating into the War Doctor. But beyond that, we didn't really get much for the classic Doctors, which I still think to this day was a terrible, terrible shame, because I really would have liked to see them be more involved with the 50th than they ended up being. But it's understandable why that would have been difficult, because it would be difficult for any writer really to be able to write for that many leading characters, for 11 as it was back then. 11, well, including John Hurt, 12, but 11, 12 main characters back then. It would have been really difficult. And, the all 13 scene at the end of the Day of Doctor was, it was all right. It was like, it was probably the best they could do. And it was really good, and I enjoyed that a lot. I think that was definitely one of the best moments from Day of the Doctor. And then obviously the ending with 12 doctors standing on that cloud looking up at Gallifrey and everything. That was pretty good as well. But yeah, this is just kind of a problem is with multi-doctor stories is it depends how many you want back, because if you want to try and bring them all back, or as many as there are still alive or whatever, and it's very difficult because for a writer to do anyway, because you've just got to write for that many characters. You've got to write for over a dozen main leading characters, and it's just try and give them all something to do would just be really difficult, especially if you've only got 60, 90, 100 minutes or so, or 2 hours or something. You may think, oh well, that's still a really long time, but it probably still won't be enough time to really give each of the doctors something really good and really interesting to actually do for the whole of that special. But having said that, obviously I would love to see all of the doctors come back, and ideally I would love to see the classic doctors come back, meet the new series doctors, and yeah, it would be a lot of fun really to see them all on screen properly together. As for whether or not I think that is very likely to happen, I think the most likely is probably 5 to 8. So I think Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy, and Paul Mcgann are the most likely to come back. I'm not too sure about Tom Baker, because yes, he's still alive. He's still with us and everything, but he's in his 80s now, and I think he's in his late 80s actually now. I think actually, and by the 60th has come and everything, he'll be nearly 90. So I don't know. I mean, if Tom Baker wants to come back, and as long as they're able to kind of look after him and give him a good amount of stuff to do, whilst also kind of being aware of the fact of how old he is. I'm not kind of trying to like diss him or whatever, because I love Fourth Doctor an awful lot. I'm just saying that I think it will be difficult because of Tom Baker's age, for him to come back, because I don't think he could really. I don't think he'll be running down any corridors, certainly, for example, or doing a lot of action stuff. But if they want to bring the Fourth Doctor back as well as all the other surviving classic Doctors, then by all means they can do that. As long as they just look after him, basically. I mean, I think this is, when it comes to 6 and 7, I think this is kind of the best. This is kind of like the last time you could get them back, and kind of get away with it, really, because Sylvester McCoy recently got back into his costume and played the Doctor again for that trailer for the collection season 24 box set last year. And yeah, he did look older, yes, but it was, he was still the Seventh Doctor, and I think he could definitely pull it off again, and I think Colin Baker could definitely pull it off again. Yes, they've all got a lot older and all of this lot, but there's nothing. It's not like Doctor Who hasn't got ways of explaining that. There'll be plenty of, I don't know, if they wanted to bring back the classic Doctors and come up with some reason as to why they all look a lot older. There's so many different things that Rusty Davis could come up with to explain that away. Because I mean, when Peter Davison did Time Crash of it with alongside David Tennant back in 2007, I believe it was. I believe they said something about why the Fifth Doctor looked a bit older then. So it could definitely do something. Peter Davison, because obviously he became a Doctor quite young. He was the youngest actor to play the Doctor at the time, and Matt Smith came along, obviously. So yeah, Peter Davison, I think, yeah, he could still get away with it, I suppose, yeah. And then Paul McGann just, he doesn't look it at all. He looks about 40, early 40s. Which, so yeah, you could definitely get Paul McGann back, and Davison, I think, is pretty likely to come back as well. And yeah, I'd love to see all of these surviving classic Doctors come back and interact with the other Doctors. I mean, that would be really, really nice to see all of those Doctors interacting with each other. But we'll have to wait and see, because it just depends on what Rusty Davis wants to do for the 60th, because he could do the bog standard multi-Doctor event, as I've said earlier, or he could do something completely different, completely brand new. It really just depends on what he wants to do as a writer. But even if those Doctors are not coming back, they'll definitely be coming back for whatever Big Finish is planning for 60th. So yeah, that will be. Yeah, it's. I would love to see 4 to 8 and then 10 to 13. Well, 10 to 14 actually interacting with each other. But as for whether that will happen, we'll just have to wait and see ultimately, because it's not impossible, but it depends what Rusty Davis wants to do, and it depends if everyone's available, if everyone's still willing to do it, and all of this lot. Who's that behind you, JK? Yes, so I know you were joking, obviously, but this is, if you're wondering who this is here, this is obviously John Pertwee, the Third Doctor. But yeah, you probably already knew that since you say JK and everything. But yeah, this is my calendar I've got. It's a really, really cool calendar. I would take it down and show you all, but then it may be a bit difficult to put it back up. So, but yeah, you can see it quite clearly there. Yeah, and then you probably can't see it that much, but I've also got a poster right next to it, which Doctor Who magazine did almost 10 years ago now, for the 50th anniversary of showing every individual episode of Doctor Who, from the very first one, An Unearthly Child, all the way to Matt Smith's last one, The Time of the Doctor. And yeah, I've got a lot of posters and stuff around me. I like my posters, as you can see, and then behind me, you can see, you might be able to see there just some of my Doctor Who autographs, which I'll be doing a video about at some point, showing you all my collection of Doctor Who autographs and everything that I've managed to get over the years. But yeah, so let me see. So I've got my notes up again. Let me just have another look. See what exactly we've got else to talk about. I don't think there's that much else to really say about the 60th itself. Yeah, I think I've kind of said everything that we can really talk about, because until we find out more information, yeah, that is kind of all I can really say for the 60th. So if anyone has got any questions that they want to ask in the live chat, or once this live stream is done, if you want to ask me them in the comments, in the comment section below, then by all means, you can do that. I'm completely, yeah, I'd love to answer some of your questions if you've got any. If you haven't, don't worry about it. It's completely fine. But if you've got any burning questions at all, rattling in your head or whatever, that you just really would want me to answer, then by all means feel free to put them in the live chat, or like I say, in the comments below after the end of this live stream. So whilst just wait for anybody to kind of type any questions, I'll just quickly kind of talk through some news that's come out recently, in the past week. So obviously we've had the new character online exclusive set announced. That is the Warriors of the Deep Silurian set, which is really, really good, actually. I mean, quite why they've picked Warriors of the Deep of all stories to do figures of, I have no idea, but you know, fair enough to them. No, but the figures, the Silurian figures, are really, really highly well detailed. I mean, I've only seen pictures of them, obviously, because I don't have the set yet. I mean, I've pre-ordered it, but it's not come as of yet. But yeah, I'm just so, I mean, kind of like initially when it was kind of, I think, rumored a day or two before it was officially confirmed that was going to be a set that we were going to get, I was kind of a bit like, oh well, I don't really kind of like, yeah, that's cool, but would kind of like to see something else. Yeah, I mean, I would like to see more Jodie era stuff completely. But I know that the reason why Character Options probably just doesn't want to do stuff like that for time being, and wants to concentrate more on the classic series, is because the classic series stuff just has more of a wider excuse me, more of a wider audience, really. And because there'll be people who grew up with Doctor in the 60s, 70s, or 80s who will want to get figures from their childhood eras of the show and stuff like that, and it's completely understandable. But they won't want to necessarily get newer stuff from Jodie Whittaker because they don't have that same kind of attachment to that era of the show, to the eras of the show that they grew up with, because, well, that's just normal thing that happens. Obviously you're going to have a lot of fond nostalgic memories of what you watched as a child. So the fact that they're concentrating more on classic series stuff, I mean, it is a shame in some ways, but then again, as I said in my video did a few days ago, talking about the Silurian set and everything, given that we've had so many figures in the past year, or past 2 years actually, that we never thought we'd get. We've had classic companions. We've had both Romanas released. We've had classic Sarah Jane. We've had Ian Chesterton. We've had Harry Sullivan. And then for classic monsters, we've had Vord figures. We've had Sensurite figures. We've had Raston Warrior robot figures. We've even had figures for the 2 androids from Earthshock and stuff like that. Stuff that I don't think we ever thought we were going to. And now, to then continue that with getting a set of Silurians from Warriors of the Deep. Again, that is something that I never thought we'd get. I never thought we'd get any classic series Silurians. So to have some now is just, it's just balmy, but just in a good way, in a really, really great way. I would obviously love to see more Jodie era stuff, but I think right now that's just, it's probably because I suppose maybe they don't sell as well as the classic stuff tends to, which is a terrible shame. But that's just the way things are ultimately. Yeah, but yeah, I've been really happy with the stuff that we've gotten, certainly for the past few years. The only problem I've ever had is just trying to get most of the B&M stuff actually from a B&M, because my local B&Ms are just, well, there's a proper B&M bargain store that doesn't get anything really these days. I think I may have said this in the last live stream, but I think they did get some of the 2019 stuff, and that was basically it, or maybe some of the 2018 stuff as well. Yeah, I think they got some of the 2018 and 2019 stuff, but then since 2020, there's been nothing really that particular B&M. And then there's another B&M nearby, an Home and Garden Centre, I think it is, a much bigger B&M. And that's, I think, tends to do a bit better, but that's a bit more out of the way for me, so it's a bit more difficult to get to. I mean, they're both difficult to get to, but that one especially really is. So yeah, it's not great, but I manage. Yeah. Sorry for if there's any slurping. I was just having some water from a bottle. Yeah, so that's the Silurian figures. And then I know there was a rumor going around a few days ago about Lego potentially developing a Lego Doctor Who video game. But I think that got quickly debunked by someone who works for I think it's TT Games, who tends to handle those Lego video games and stuff. And yeah, they basically kind of said, no, that we're not doing that. That's not happening. So yeah, that is a shame. I would have loved to have seen that, certainly. And I think it is a shame that Lego hasn't, because they did do a proper Doctor Who set a few years ago, and then some stuff for Lego Dimensions as well. So I think it's a shame that we've never really gotten much more Doctor Who Lego. And then obviously there was character building back in the day, where character options gave us their own version of like Doctor Who Lego, which, you know, I've still got very fond nostalgic memories of collecting all those little micro figures, as they were called, and everything. I think it's a shame they had to stop doing that, because I think they had to stop doing that so then Lego could then make their sets and everything. But yeah, I would really love to see a Lego Doctor Who video game, and maybe some Lego minifigures would be really good to see as well. As for whether we'll get anything like that, who knows? Maybe if we're lucky, maybe one day we will. But yeah, and then I think also Big Finish announced with their latest Ninth Doctor Adventures volume, the surprise return of, I think it's the original Mondasian Sidemen, alongside the return of the Brigadier, which has already been announced, played by John Coleshaw. Because sadly, of course, Nicholas Courtney passed away 10 or so years ago. Yeah, that was really unexpected. I was really surprised when they sort of dropped that, that the original Sidemen, or at least the Sidemen, were coming back to fight alongside, to fight against, sorry, not alongside, the Ninth Doctor, the Brigadier, and I forget the name, but that that guy who was in Praxius, and then has also played a character for Big Finish, like, who works for the modern version of Unit, or Unit before, Unit during the Matt Smith and Capaldi eras, at least. Yeah, so that's really interesting, really good. Very excited to see how that all develops and everything. So yeah, I give everyone a few more minutes, just if they've got any questions at all to ask me about whatever. Could be Doctor Who, could be something else, and just drop them in the chat at the sides, or wait until the stream has ended and then put them in the comments below. And then I'll just check that there's nothing else for us to talk about, because I don't think there is really. Excuse me. Yeah, I think that is pretty much it. So I don't think this is going to be quite as long as the last one, but that's all right. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So this is going to be probably the last live stream I do for a little bit, until hopefully I get a few like better equipment and stuff like that. And hopefully once I've got that better equipment, there won't be as many technical difficulties as there have been with these two. I know there have been technical difficulties. So I just want to say really sorry about all that. Sorry, I'm looking at my phone. Shouldn't be, should I? But yeah, yeah, it's been fun, certainly. Apart from that, doing these live streams. I hope you've all enjoyed these live streams as well. And yeah, it's been fun to do, to just kind of chat about the centenary and 60th anniversary specials, like this, rather than just doing a million or so separate videos about different topics to do with those 2 episodes and everything. I hope we get some more information about those specials soon. I think we certainly will for the Centenary special, because obviously that's coming out sometime in the autumn of this year. And then the 60th we'll probably have to wait a bit longer for any more news about. Unless they announce the 14th Doctor very, very soon, which they could do. Because I know that's kind of something which we're all kind of wondering, like, when exactly are they going to announce number 14? I mean, it could be anytime within the next few hours or few days, or it could be not until the start of the 60th and we find out then. Hopefully it's sooner rather than later, as I said earlier, but we'll just have to wait and see, really. So yeah, I think I'll probably end it there for now. So thank you very much to all of you for tuning in and chatting away and stuff in the live chat. And yeah, like I say, I really hope you've enjoyed these live streams, and I will be back on Tuesday with a short little compilation of some quotes from the second Doctor, Patrick Troughton. So yeah, if you're interested in that, please do keep a lookout for that. And also, if you haven't already, please do press that subscribe button, as well as the like button, and all of that. And yeah, I think we're nearly at 500 subscribers, and once we do, I will rank every single TV companion from 1963 to present. So that's from Susan to Dan. So yeah, if you really want to find out what I think of all the TV companions and how I'd rank them, then please don't forget to press that subscribe button. And yeah, I'll see you all next time. So thanks very much for watching. Bye bye.